Meet Ethan and meet Lucas. They're both 29 years old. Both earn $85,000 a year. Both have $60,000 in savings. Both want the same thing: a comfortable life, financial security, and maybe a dog that doesn't destroy furniture. But one decision changes everything. Ethan buys a house. Lucas rents an apartment for the next 15 years. They'll quietly argue without ever speaking to each other. One believes rent is throwing money away. The other replies, a mortgage is just renting money from the bank. Who's right? Surprisingly, maybe neither. Because this debate isn't really about houses. It's about cash flow, behavior, and one invisible expense that almost everyone ignores. Let's start on day one. Ethan finds a home worth $450,000. He puts down 20%. That's $90,000. But there's a problem. He only has $60,000. After years of saving, he still needs to borrow another $30,000 from family. Not exactly the dream beginning he imagined. His monthly mortgage is around $2,300. Sounds manageable, until the hidden costs arrive. Property tax, home insurance, maintenance, HOA fees, and even a lawnmower he'll barely use. Suddenly, his real monthly housing cost climbs to roughly $3,100. Lucas makes a different decision. He rents a similar apartment nearby. His monthly rent is $2,100. No down payment, no closing costs, and no midnight plumbing emergencies. Instead, he invests the $60,000 he didn't spend. Every month, he invests roughly $1,000. Simple, automatic, boring, which, financially speaking, is usually a compliment. But this is only the beginning. Neither path stays this simple. 3 years pass, then 4, then 5. Things begin to change. Ethan has built some equity. His home's value increases. Friends congratulate him. Everyone says he's building wealth. Then reality arrives. The roof starts leaking. The repair costs $8,000. A few months later, the water heater fails. Another $2,000 disappears. Property taxes rise. Insurance premiums increase after a major storm. Slowly, his monthly budget becomes tighter. These are the expenses nobody posts on social media. Meanwhile, Lucas faces a different challenge. His landlord raises the rent. Again and again. His monthly payment climbs from $2,100 to almost $2,600. For a moment, buying a house suddenly looks like the better choice. But then, interest rates rise. New homebuyers now face much larger mortgage payments than Ethan ever did. The lesson? Timing often matters more than opinions. Now let's talk about something most people ignore: opportunity cost. Or, more simply, what else could your money have done? Imagine Ethan's $90,000 down payment had been invested instead. If it earned around 8% a year, over 15 years, that money could have grown into several $100,000. Money likes freedom. It grows wherever it has room. But investing isn't emotionally easy. One year, Lucas opens his investment account. His portfolio is down nearly 30%. Everything is red. He begins to doubt his decision. Maybe buying a house would have felt safer. Because the stock market reminds you every single day when things go wrong. A house doesn't send you notifications saying its value dropped this morning. That's why psychology matters. Sometimes, even more than mathematics. 15 years later, the picture looks very different. Ethan's house is now worth around $700,000. On paper, that sounds incredible. But owning a valuable home doesn't mean every dollar belongs to you. Selling costs money. Maintenance never stopped. Property taxes never disappeared. And during the early years, a large portion of every mortgage payment went toward interest instead of building equity. Still, Ethan now owns a valuable asset. His housing costs have become more predictable. His neighborhood feels familiar. And one day, his mortgage payments will finally come to an end. Lucas has built something different. His investment portfolio has grown steadily through years of consistent investing. Not because every year was great. Far from it. There were market crashes, corrections, months filled with uncertainty. But he stayed invested, and over time, compound interest quietly did its job. His money kept working while he slept. His portfolio is also liquid. He can move to another city, accept a better job, travel, or even decide to buy a house later if his priorities change. That flexibility has real value, even if it's much harder to see than a beautiful house. So, who's actually richer? Here's the surprising answer. In many real-life situations, the gap between them is much smaller than most people expect. It depends on home prices, stock market returns, interest rates, rent increases, and perhaps most importantly, whether the renter actually invested the difference every single month. Social media loves simple answers. Real life rarely gives them. Buying isn't automatically the winning strategy, and renting isn't automatically a losing one. The final result depends less on the house, and far more on the habits behind the decision. Here's where math meets human nature. Buying a home forces discipline. Every mortgage payment slowly builds equity. You can't accidentally spend your house the way you can spend money sitting in your bank account. Renting works differently. Nobody forces you to invest the money you save. If that extra cash disappears into new cars, expensive vacations, or food delivery that somehow costs $40 for a single sandwich, then the renting strategy completely falls apart. Not because renting failed, because behavior failed. The investment plan only works if you consistently invest the difference. The opposite is also true. Buying isn't automatically the smarter decision. If you stretch your budget too far, become house poor, or buy a home you plan to leave after only a few years, homeownership can become surprisingly expensive. Sometimes, the biggest financial mistake isn't renting. It's buying the wrong house at the wrong time. 15 years later, Ethan owns a home. Lucas owns a large investment portfolio. Neither made a stupid decision. They simply optimized for different lives. Buying makes sense if you plan to stay in one place for many years, value stability, and like the discipline that comes with a mortgage. Renting makes sense if you value flexibility, can consistently invest the difference, and understand that wealth isn't built by owning property alone. It's built by owning assets that grow over time. Sometimes that's a house. Sometimes it's businesses through index funds. And sometimes it's both. The real mistake isn't renting or buying. It's believing that one answer works for everyone, because personal finance is personal. So here's my question for you. If you had $100,000 today, would you use it to buy a house, or would you invest it and continue renting? And more importantly, would you honestly invest the difference every single month? Let me know your answer in the comments, because that decision may reveal far more about your future wealth than whether you rent or buy.